Good evening and welcome to the Town of Rockland Board of Selectmen meeting for Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Selectperson Shorto, can you start us off?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded for playback by WRPS at youtube.com/WRPS Rockland. Please go to WRPSRockland.com for further information. First on the agenda, community announcements. Jen?
Just two quick announcements here relative to building committee vacancies. You'll have in your binders this evening a letter of resignation dated April 14th, 2023 from Selectman Ellard. And this is to inform the board that he'll be resigning from the Charter Review Committee effective immediately. And so the Charter Review Committee has a vacancy. And I'd like to also let the community know that there will be a vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals. So if anyone is interested in serving on either of that committee or board, to come into the Board of Selectmen's office and submit an application.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Any questions, comments?
Also, I stepped off of the Southfield committee that I was on, which wasn't in here, so the advisory committee. So you want to let people know about that one too. So
Yeah, I was going to put that on the next agenda because I think it was after the agenda was posted, but it's no harm in saying it and advertising it online as well. Thank you, John. Perfect. Next on the agenda, minutes from April 18, 2023. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you.
I actually need to abstain.
Oh, I thought your hand.
Nope,
I saw your hand move. You went to cross your hands, but I thought you were raising it. All right, it's not unanimous. One abstention.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, new business. One-day liquor license request, open air market. I don't think you need any introduction anymore. It's Allison. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Thank you, madam.
I'll try
Might as
to
well
keep it
just get
short
you a
and sweet.
seat
I'm
at the
sure
end of
you
the
guys
table
are all
there.
No?
sitting together in meetings.
Speak for yourself. We'd love to see you.
Yes, we love seeing you.
Maybe I'm a little bit on a lighter note. So yeah, I'm presenting for the May 20th open air market, Second Wind Brewing out of Plymouth, if I'm correct. Sorry, I forgot to check that. It's kind of a big day. We have a trike called Funk that we got a grant from the Rockland Culture Council, break dancing and just getting energy into the crowd, which is really fun. And we're also doing a doggy adoption day. Yeah, so it'll be a nice day at the market.
You want to speak a little more about the dog adoption day and how that works?
So Buddy and Friends is an animal rescue. They do solely foster, so they don't have a shelter. And what they do is events like this. They did one at Article 15, I think it was February, maybe. And they bring dogs, and Officer Ian will be there and doing his little demos for the kids that he does. And then we'll have a bunch of animal vendors. So yeah, the dogs will be there with their foster parents, and then you can start the process of adoption, but of course that isn't like you're gonna just take a dog home. This is a responsible adoption where...
That's why I wanted to ask you to go into a little bit more, just so people weren't showing up to bring dogs home. You know?
Yeah.
Well, you'll meet the dogs, and
Yeah.
in any adoption, they want you to sit with the dog for a while, so you see all their temperaments. So yeah, they're really responsible. You're not gonna go home with the dog, but you might meet your future fur baby.
Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about that? Seeing none? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the one-day license for Second Wind Brewing.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
A motion and a second. All those in favor? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Also, we have one this weekend, Cappuccino will be playing.
Very good. Okay, next on the agenda, Rockland Day. See Mr. Lucas hiding in the back. John, welcome back.
Hi, John.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
I'm representing the 4 breweries. We're going to have it Rockland Day. Article 15 from Rockland, Black Hat from Bridgewater, and 10th District from Abington, as well as players from Rockland. This, we have cut down this year by one vendor as far as beer. During last year, we had a little too many, and a little bit more control. We've gone through the police department. They have okayed it this year. We are not going to have a fenced-off area within the area. It is going to be all served in clear plastic cups so that the PD can see what's in them. They will not fit in a cozy, so that will make them a little happier. They will again be beside the food trucks. And just for those that may not be aware of it, we do have fireworks, and Scott Duffy told me last night he's all cleared with that with the fireworks company. We have a cornhole tournament in the afternoon. We have approximately 60 vendors, and that's going to be the limit that we're going to have signed up on the field. We have free pony rides, free train rides. We have an axe throwing company coming in this year, and there's going to be no charge for that. We're covering all the costs on it. Obviously, all have insurance forms that have been submitted, as well as the beer people that Sue had all of those forms. I don't know whether you've got them or not. It's going to be pretty much like last year. Fireworks will be about 9:15, 9:16, something like that. Shot off from Reed Street. Other than that, it's expanded slightly from last year. We did get confirmation yesterday the state police helicopter is going to come in the morning, barring emergencies that they may have. And I believe there's a very strong chance we're going to have med-flight helicopter come in the afternoon. Again, that's going to be dependent on what their requirements are as far as their emergency calls. The only thing I would ask, if any of the select people would like to volunteer for the dunk tank this year.
That was my question. I was waiting for that.
I wasn't gonna tip my hand, it's like asking for homework.
I was waiting. Yeah, I did a really good job with that last year.
Yep.
It's a short period of time, 15 to 20 minutes maximum.
Yeah, I can't swim, so.
We'll have a lifeguard.
I was gonna say, I'll do the
Katie
lifeguard.
back there, she'll have a lifeguard on duty.
Can you provide towels?
We can do that.
Is there enough
Excellent.
space, is there enough space for the people, the amount of people that would be in line if I got in there?
I don't
Can the
know.
field hold it? I
Probably
mean, I know
not.
it's like
We-
475
we-
field
Maybe
center.
not, we wouldn't make an announcement of it until that very minute, so that they wouldn't be able to line up ahead of
It
it.
is for charity though, John, so,
If anyone would like to do it, we certainly would like to have it.
We'll see.
John, what's the day again?
You know what's the date?
day before Father's Day,
June
right?
17th.
June
Saturday,
17th.
17th. And the vendors will be running 10 to 4. The fireworks, like I said, will be about 9 o'clock, 9:15 rather. The beer garden will be open 2 to 8. The food trucks will be open from 10 o'clock until 8. We have a dumpster coming in to take care of the trash and try to tighten up. Last year, I think we did a pretty good job cleaning up afterwards. We again will take care of the fireworks the next morning. I know there was some controversy last year. The gentleman that complained had no fireworks in his yard whatsoever, but we went through it to clean up and all. Are there any questions I can answer?
Any questions, comments, concerns from the board?
Just thank you, John. I know it's a ton of work. We had, my family and so many good friends had so much fun last year, so I can only imagine how this year's going to be. It's going to be.
It is a lot of work, but I've got a tremendous committee and a lot of volunteers. We can use volunteers in the vicinity of probably 8:30 to 10:30 in the morning, a couple all day long, and some for cleaning up at the end of the day at 4 o'clock. And all of this information is online at Rockland. Reimagine Rockland, and there's a tab on there to take you to Rockland Day.
So kids can get community service for volunteering?
Yes, kids can get community
Okay.
service, we'll have that set up, that they'll get signed off on it.
Awesome, okay.
Anybody else? Everybody good? All right, John, thanks for all you do, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
okay with the beer vendors?
Oh, yeah, that's right, I forgot about it. I got so distracted with the dunk tank.
We'll put you early in the dunk tank.
Well, I'm going in first, because I've seen some of these
No,
dunk tanks
that
after a few
lap is
other people,
first.
if that's the case.
That lap is first, but we can make you second.
Okay, we'll think about it, I'll get back to you. I might break my arm again, we'll see. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve Article 15 Brewing, 10th District Brewing, Black Hat Brew Works, and Players Sports Bar and Grill for Rockland Day on June 17th. I have a motion.
Motion to
I have a
approve.
motion, I have a second.
Second.
Second, motion and a second, all those in favor?
Yep.
Unanimous.
Thank you
John.
very much.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, CDBG Case 20-309 review. Wayne Dara, come on down.
I'm ready.
Wayne Dara, Community Opportunities Group, the town's community development block grant consultant. I'm here to follow up on a project that the Community Development Office has been working on with a particular housing rehabilitation case. As presented to the board previously, it's a very extensive renovation that's required of this property. It initially was thought it would cost in the area of $230,000, $250,000 to rehab this property. We all know prices have gone up considerably in the last couple of years, but we bid this project twice. We've bid multiple alternatives. We've bid rehabbing the structure on its existing foundation. We've bid demolishing the property and bringing in a prefab home. We've bid putting a prefab home on the existing foundation. We've really tried to look at this as many different ways as we could to find the best possible solution. And after getting prices on all those alternatives, it still does appear that the best option is to rehab the property on its existing foundation. However, that project cost is in the range of $340,000, not $250,000. We've actually bid that option twice, and that's where we're at with that.
So that's been the low bid both times, 340.
Now, we've only gotten one bid each time, but for some reason, the existing condition of the property could scare off contractors. You need a contractor with a bigger crew than most of the folks who do the normal projects for us have. I mean, you're talking about a multi-month project with probably 10 or 12 guys on it, not 3 weeks with 4 guys on it. So a lot of the guys we normally work with, they don't really have the crew or the capacity to take on a project like this. We reached out to bigger contractors. We kind of threw the net as wide as we could, and we held multiple bid showings where we've had multiple contractors present, but at the end of the process, we've only gotten bids from one contractor for the rehab and one contractor for the prefab options. So I think we're at a point where that's the cost we're talking about. And I would say what's not in there is some of the expenses we've already spent. Per the request of the building inspector, we had an asbestos survey done at the property, and we came up with small amounts of asbestos there. There's the cost of the lead paint inspection that was done, so there's already some preliminary costs in here. So I think you're looking at, I would say, $350,000. When we discussed this project in the past, we talked about approaching it with 3 different pools of money. We've earmarked $100,000 out of the town's 2020 housing rehab program. We still have that set aside. The town also has approximately $80,000 in program income, which is money that's come back from prior housing rehab projects and is required to be spent under the same rules and regulations of the CDBG program. So it's essentially an additional $80,000 of housing rehab money. On top of that, the town has approximately $200,000 of miscellaneous income. Miscellaneous income is also from the payback of housing rehab loans that were done in the past, but because of certain conditions weren't met, it doesn't qualify as program income, so it's basically there to be used as the town sees fit. So between those three pools of funds, I feel we have the available money to move forward with this project. It just becomes a decision about whether or not that's the right thing to do, if that's the best way to use those resources. That's a decision my office can't make, that's why I'm here tonight. I've tried to think of ways that the town can protect this investment as best it can. The money that is described as CDBG money, we have certain policies we have to abide by that have been established by DHCD. And that is, that money can only be under a 15-year term, 15-year mortgage or lien, however you want to say it, so that if the property stays in the same ownership as it is now for another 15 years, that money, that loan is actually forgiven. That's the rules that apply to all of the housing rehab cases we do. There is no requirement or policy on how you spend your miscellaneous income. So it is possible for us to place a lien on the miscellaneous income portion of the funding that is in perpetuity, so that no matter when this property transfers, that money comes back to the town. Now, I think given the value of real estate these days, as soon as that building's rehab, it's going to be worth at least $350,000 we put into it. So I don't think we are risking being upside down on this property. We've discussed the concept of this two-part lien with the homeowners. They've signed off on it. They're ready to move forward under those conditions. So it becomes a question of whether the town's ready to move forward under those conditions.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
Yeah, are there any other options to do with the miscellaneous money besides this project? Do you have anything going on?
I don't have it earmarked for anything
You don't? Okay.
right now.
All right. Okay, and when it's rehabbed, what do the homeowners plan to do? Are they
They plan to live there.
they're gonna live there? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So it might be a long time before it's sold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. right.
they're a little bit up there in age,
Mm-hmm.
so
Okay.
I don't want to talk about anyone's.
Yes, I know.
Just want to keep it.
Yeah, okay. I just
But,
wanted to
you
know the
I mean,
parameters.
I think that's part of
we're working
what's
with,
driving
yeah.
this project.
Yep,
Is
gotcha.
the fact that they are a vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
resident here in Rockland.
Yeah,
And this is
a kindness.
a way to put them in a property that is safe and sanitary, which current conditions certainly are not.
Right, okay.
Just like, can I just make a point of clarification? I think, Lori, were you asking about what the homeowners, would we need to relocate the homeowners? What would they do during the construction of the project?
No, I wasn't asking.
Okay.
But what would we do?
They will move in with their daughter.
Okay,
For
Great.
the period of construction.
okay.
Just one question, and by the way, thank you for all the work that you've done on this. If we go with the $350,000, does that deplete all of the CBD money, or is there any, would there be anything else available should anything else?
Well, we submitted an application for the 22-23 funding round. So we have a pending application with the state for, I think it's around $1 million, maybe 1.1 million for additional funding. But if we decide not to move forward, then the $100,000 that would earmark for this would probably be used to rehab 2 other units. Around $50,000 is the per unit cap on the program. Prices have been pushing us above that, but I think we would end up doing two more units instead of this 1 unit.
Okay, thank you.
And in that 22-23 application, we sought additional housing rehab funds. So if we do get funded, we'll have more money in the pipeline to do more projects in the future. And we do have a waiting list, and we have demand for this program. It's not as if I won't know where to spend the money if we don't spend $100,000 here. There are people on the waiting list who we could process for participation in the program.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I do. The lien, does that, if the owners say wanted to transfer it to one of their kids, is that allowable, or does that trigger the repayment of it?
It triggers the repayment. Any transfer in ownership would trigger the repayment.
Even within a family?
Yeah. I mean, there have been situations in the past where I've come to the board because and this is, an owner passes away, and a child inherits the property. If they were also low and moderate income and met the income guidelines and were planning to live in the property, this board in the past has allowed them to basically take over the remaining term of the loan. Based on what I know about this family, they have 2 children. I'm not sure either one of them would be interested in residing in that property. Likely, if someone inherited, it would likely be sold to an uninterested party and come back to us that way.
Okay. And this project's obviously a lot bigger than your typical one. What's so unusual about this one? Because I wasn't here the first time you all talked about this.
It's a property that has had no maintenance for years. I mean, there are tarps on the roof where shingles are gone. There, in one portion of the home, basically an exterior wall is completely rotted away. There is evidence of black mold, and there's ceilings that are falling, and most of the facilities, such as the shower and toilet, do not work on a steady basis. It's on the radar of the Inspection Services Department, it's on the radar of the Board of Health. If this project doesn't move forward, it's likely that the next step is going to be some condemnation of some sort.
Okay.
And there are some health issues that exist with the people that live in there as well?
I'd rather not.
Without getting specific, but yes or no, yeah.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation. It's a very complicated situation. Wonderful people.
Yeah.
Just haven't figured out how to help themselves. And there are good things that have come out of this. They've sort of been brought in to meet with different departments in the town. They just discovered that this gentleman who's a veteran had been going without veteran benefits that were available to him for years and years. So they've actually seen their income increase by coming to the town to talk about other issues. So we've helped them to a certain degree as it is, but we still kind of have this big decision that needs to be made.
So you mentioned the use of miscellaneous funding.
Yeah.
How long, well, I guess I should say, how often do you find yourself using that miscellaneous funding, and how long did it take to build up miscellaneous funding to the point that it's at now?
That's a result of the 15 years or so that I've been here with the town. Some of those payments go all the way back to programs the town had in the late 80s. It's grown a little bit more in the more recent past because DHCD made a change in their guidelines that said Any money that comes back from a program that's already been closed for 5 years is miscellaneous income. So we have projects that were done in, 15 and 16 that when they get repaid now, it becomes miscellaneous income. I'm sorry, 5 and 6. It becomes miscellaneous income regardless of how much it is. So we have seen a little bit of growth there in the most recent past. Typically, we use it for, the town's used it to pay my firm for application preparation costs, to supplement other housing rehab cases. We've had situations where we get towards the end of a program and the final project is $40,000 and we only have $25,000 left in the budget, so we'll supplement that with miscellaneous income. But it hasn't, the town's never used it in a big chunk like this that we're talking about using it.
So you've been here for 15 years. What is, I mean, clearly you're more well-versed than any of us are in this. What does your instinct tell you? Like, what would you want to do with this?
My instinct tells me this is probably the roughest existing property I've seen. I've been doing this for 30 years. I haven't seen a house that needs this much work. I think we've been working on this for 6 months now. I think we've gotten some expectations up, not just among the owners, but among their neighbors. This has been a concern of the neighborhood for a while, and I don't think that's unjustified. So I look at it as an investment, not just in that single property, but one that benefits surrounding properties. I think there's some bang for your buck there.
What's the will of the board?
Can I just add a few comments from the board's perspective? So the CDBG program has been run here in Rockland is to address code compliance issues in households. And as Wayne has explained, this particular case is an extreme case. And I think one other way to look at it is between the program income, which other households have benefited from the program, which were returned back to the town. Similarly, the miscellaneous funds are being used in a way that's both compliant with the program, but will keep one family from potentially losing their home because of the conditions of that home right now. And there is a protection insofar as the miscellaneous funds, which are nearly at least 50% of the total investment in the property, where it'll be protected, and should that property be sold, as explained, will be returned to the town and will be available to help, perhaps an additional family.
And I personally feel, given the extent of the work that you've done, given what this means not only to this family, but at the same time to that neighborhood as a whole, because something that is in such poor condition is very dangerous to that community. So I would be in, it's a substantial amount, but the fact that we have, 3 different pockets to assemble that money, and the fact that it will come back, or a good deal of it can come back, I am in favor of moving ahead with it.
Is that a motion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? All those opposed?
I'm going to say no. I think we should spread it around more than place it all into one. So,
I understand that argument.
I believe that we need kindness. We need kindness right now. So it's an extreme kindness to do for these elderly people.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so get on it.
Thank you, Wayne.
Appreciate
it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Next on the agenda, vote to indemnify hearing officer for the Board of Health. Jen?
This is a request of the board to to indemnify a hearing officer who has been assigned to the Board of Health's hearing, which is scheduled for tomorrow evening, May 3rd. Indemnification of a hearing officer is not an uncommon thing. In essence, what it does will protect that presiding hearing officer from being sued personally over a matter. The hearing officer that's assigned is Peter Mooring, who's a 30-year attorney and has extensive municipal experience. Part of the reason for utilizing a hearing officer in tomorrow's hearing is that there are 2 new members of the board in somewhat complicated case before them, and will ensure an objective and fair hearing. And that's not to suggest that those 2 members or any members would not otherwise conduct it, but this is a new process for those 2 members.
Okay, anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to indemnify the officer for the Board of Health hearing tomorrow night.
Second?
Okay, so I have a motion and a second to indemnify Attorney Peter Moran. All those in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, other new business not reasonably anticipated. Jen?
I have.
Okay. Next on the agenda, old business, town meeting recap, if necessary.
I guess just quickly, I would like to thank the town moderator, Kevin Henderson, for what was an efficient and orderly meeting, and thank the community for their participation in what is probably one of the purest forms of democracy, as painful as it may feel on occasion. There were 5 articles in the special town meeting, all those concurred and voted in the affirmative. The annual town meeting, as you know, had 84 articles, 81 of which were approved, 2 were not, and 1 was postponed indefinitely. And then the 2 articles which were not approved, one was Article 61, which would have amended Rockland's code, specifically violations and penalties relative to the water department. And I think the message, not advocating for it one way or the other, but that's important for the community to understand that was a water conservation measure. And I think it's something that the community, not just Rockland, but communities across the Commonwealth, will be hearing a lot about going forward as a number of communities are realizing drought conditions. So I would stay tuned. And then Article 84 was authorization to borrow the $33.2 million to support the construction equipment and furnishing of a new fire station. And then the article that was postponed indefinitely was relative to a potential land acquisition that was no longer available to the town.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Anybody, questions, comments about town meeting last night? Or are you welcome to save it for your closing comments as well? Okay, I had a feeling. So seeing no comment, moving on. Other old business not reasonably anticipated?
One quick item. I know the board was presented with information relative to an act which was enacted in 2021, and that's Section 3A of the Zoning Act, otherwise known as MBTA Communities.
Yeah.
The town had received a grant to work with a consultant to receive technical assistance in developing and identifying the zone relevant to Rockland, and that zoning that's required to be adopted by the community no later than December 31st of 2024. For Rockland, that means identifying 47 acres within the community where there is multifamily development of 15 units per acre that could be developed as of right, which means that they don't need a permit, they don't need any permits to proceed with the housing. That is projected to produce or yield 726 units. And I want to be clear that it's not a requirement to build, ironically, to build those units, but that the opportunity is there. And this legislation was passed to address a housing crisis that's being realized in the state. The firm we're working with is Barrett Partners, Judy Barrett's firm. She's done other work with the town. They have returned back their initial assessment, and they'll be presenting 2 scenarios to the planning board. The date has not been scheduled, so we'll keep the board and community posted on that. The district that was identified to use as the basis is the 40R district, which is essentially the majority of Union Street. Unfortunately, it doesn't meet the 47-acre requirement, and so there's two scenarios. We'll identify two different sub-districts in and around that area so that we can meet the 47-acre requirement without imposing too much change on the community. Our 40R zoning actually exceeds the requirements of the 15 acres per unit. It allows for up to 20 units per acre, and so that would be an overlay district if they weren't adopted.
Anybody have any questions, comments about that? Concerns?
Yeah.
Did you mean Union Street or Union Point?
Union Street.
So, yeah, I have a couple comments. I know that a couple 40Rs have come before the sewer commission, and, you know, they haven't been put on the wait list as of yet, but just to let the community know, everybody's like, where are you going to put parking? And they're planning on putting parking underground.
I think you're talking about a specific potential development site,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, on Union Street.
Yes.
Yeah. So, right, so they were asking about, a lot of people's, their big thing is, what are we going to do about parking? So I wanted to put that out there. And also, people say they don't want a booming metropolis like Weymouth is becoming. So I'm wondering if we can somehow have a bylaw that any, building of this nature has to go before a design committee first. So it would fold into the fabric of the community better and have a more hometown feel rather than,
There are actually design guidelines built into the 40R district.
Okay.
In terms of zoning requirements.
Okay,
So that's a plus,
okay,
as well as parking.
very good. Okay.
Anybody else?
That's it.
Questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Seeing none. Next on the agenda, Assistant Town Administrator's report and correspondence. Jen?
So one piece of correspondence, Mike, and this is correspondence dated April 20th, 2023, and it's from the Rockland Allied Veterans Council Memorial Day Committee. And it reads, Honorable Board of Selectmen, the Allied Veterans Council is requesting permission to hold our annual Memorial Day observance at the new Veterans Memorial on Taunton Avenue at 11 a.m. And they extend an invitation to all selectmen to attend the Memorial Day observances. And this was submitted by Connie Dugan, Secretary.
It's something that they do every year. They always do the parade that we've always given permission for. I know one of the issues that the veterans have been having is some of the more senior veterans are having difficulty walking in the parade and being transported and finding enough vehicles to have them participate. So what's become a lot easier for them to do is to meet at the memorial. And they had a nice service there last year. So I'm not sure if it's anything that we necessarily need a vote on. It's something that the veterans do anyway. But we can just take a consensus. As far as just everybody's pretty good with this as a standard practice.
For
So
sure.
the consensus would be that obviously they're permitted to do it, and we appreciate the invitation. I'll definitely be there.
Yep.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, Selectmen's comments. Comments and opinions expressed by individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of the Board of Selectmen, nor the opinions and comments of only the individual member. Select Person Elwood.
Okay, I guess I'll start with the same thing I said last week about we need people to step up and get on various committees in town, specifically finance. At the town meeting, we heard that there were 2 people who have left and 1 new person is on, and I know that committee is already short to begin with. And also rent control. The rent control does not have a quorum right now. They do not have enough members to even meet at this point. We need people to step up if there's going to be any movement with rent control. Quickly about town meeting, I want to first of all thank everybody for coming, especially those who stayed all the way to the end, roughly 11 o'clock. Obviously, there was a lot of anger in that room, and that's something that we need to try to find a way to try to bridge that gap with these people who are this angry. I don't understand why they would be as angry as they were. I don't know if that's just a communication, feeling like they're not heard. I'm not quite sure what it is, but we need to find a way to reach out and rebuild any kind of burned bridges or repair any damage that have been done, so we can hear what they have to say and try to incorporate it into anything that we do going forward. So that's it.
Thank you, John. Select Person Childs?
Yeah. Well, I again thank everybody for coming to town meeting. There was so many people there, and it was great. And I was telling Tiffany earlier, I really didn't sense a lot of anger. I mean, I was listening to people, and they spoke at the ballot, and they spoke at town meeting that, with inflation and other things in the economy, it's just really tough. It's really tough out there. And I talked to Chief Duffy afterwards, and I mean, he was very, very gracious, and he said, we got to figure out a way to do this that works for everybody. So, I put a call in last week to Chris Van Hollen's office of Maryland, who is trying to push forward a $1 billion federal program for building firehouses. And so I haven't heard back from them yet, but I'm really going to keep on top of that. Also, there's private funding. If there's anybody out there that knows of a wicked wealthy person that wants a tax write-off,
How wealthy?
Wicked.
Oh, wicked. Okay.
Wicked wealthy,
All right.
yeah. Feel free to contact me by email, and, we are starting a firehouse fund, a firehouse donation fund. So, and also, I just there's a couple points that I wanted to put out there that I didn't get to speak about last night because the question was moved on regarding the firehouse. There's a lot of things that we won't have to pay for anymore, and a lot of positive things about the firehouse too. So, first of all, we get the old building on the tax rolls, which was said last night. The fire trucks will have all inside storage, so there won't be nearly as much wear and tear. The mechanics bay space is for all the huge town trucks, which, although we'd have to hire a mechanic, I believe that what we pay across town for all of these services far exceeds what we would pay for a mechanic in-house. Also, Chief Duffy was talking about having birthday parties at the firehouse, and that might seem really trivial, but what little boy wouldn't want to have a birthday party at the firehouse? It's like a touch-a-truck maybe every weekend there, and they could have like 4 parties a weekend, which is like, it comes out to about $62,000 a year for birthday parties at the firehouse. So it's not really that trivial. I am going to be putting all my efforts into raising money in the next year for a firehouse. Hopefully we can raise $40 million, because we'll need to, that's with a 15% overage because it didn't pass this year. So I'm really positive about the future for the firehouse in Rockland. So
Nice.
that's it.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Select Person Shorto?
I also want to thank all the people that came to town meeting. I've been talking for years about people being part of the solution. We hear all the complaints about the problems, and seeing that many people come, and actually, even though there was an undercurrent of anger there, it was not brought to the surface. I mean, people were expressing themselves, yes, but there was not the screaming and shouting that, sorry, but I have heard in the past at town meetings. So I loved the fact that so many people came. They expressed themselves appropriately. They talked among themselves without building the anger, and they stayed. I have seen many town meetings when whatever they have come for, they get up and leave, and we're left worrying about whether we have enough for a quorum. So I thank the people in town that are stepping up and helping us. They're building a passion for this town, and they're being involved in finding solutions rather than just sitting at the coffee shop and complaining about the problems. So I thank everybody that came. I thought it was a great, very long, but a very great town meeting, and I applaud you all.
Thank you, Donna. Councilperson Needham?
Well, I know it's been said, but once again, I would like to thank everybody who also came last night. We had so many people there, and we got a lot accomplished last night. If you look at all of that did pass, we got a lot accomplished, and I would like to thank everyone who worked so hard for that to happen. I would also like to thank Chief Duffy and his team for all of the work that they put together. We accomplished so much with that initiative as well, in that there's been an assessment. We know what the needs of the fire station are. We know, I believe that more people now are aware, the community is now aware of the dire need for a fire station. So together, collectively, we can all move forward and find a good solution. It was great to see everybody. I was concerned with the anger as well, and I do hope that moving forward we can all put respect in terms of how we all engage together as a priority, because that's so important. But the thing that I always see, and I am so impressed with, is that on the biggest picture, we are all on the same page. We all love Rockland. We all want the best for Rockland. Right now, there may be different ways of looking at that. So the biggest thing is to continue, and as Donna said, continue to be engaged. We all need to work together. We have our challenges, but at the same time, we have an amazing town with amazing attributes. So I say continue to work together, and let's see what we can do. And I was not here the last meeting, so Selectman Allard, I wasn't able to officially welcome you to the board.
Thank you.
So, welcome.
Thank you, Tiffany. So yeah, I don't have much that's not going to be what hasn't already been said by the other members. One of the things that I just want to touch base. I mean, John did mention about there seems to be a communication, back and forth with the residents that's causing this anger, that they maybe can't express themselves. And I'll reiterate it again, which I've said on numerous occasions over the last 7 years. Anybody that ever wants to be on an agenda can come up and talk to Doug. They can email me, they can call me, and I'll put anybody on an agenda if they ask to be on an agenda. We've kicked the idea around of open forum, but open forum becomes one of those things that becomes tough for us because we can't respond to it because it's an open meeting law violation. So it would really just be the person stating their issue, and then us just sitting here and saying, okay, well, we'll get back to you at the next meeting, which I think oftentimes causes more frustration because they come in, give up their time, and they can't get answers. So I think the best route to go on that is to reach out to Doug or to Jen, the assistant town administrator. They've got open door policies here at Town Hall. We've been talking about this for years, and I can't recall the last time that somebody asked to be on an agenda outside of them having some kind of an event, or if it's a sports league in town that's going to do something, or somebody wants a one-day license. But we're here to hear the residents' concerns. You just have to come to us. And I think I was very pleased with the turnout at town meeting, but I think what I've noticed is a lot of people have come back at us and have questioned where this came from. A fire station, as if it was something that just started, that we just came up with it a couple weeks ago. We've been talking about this for over 7 years. That committee, the fire station building committee, was put together over 7 years ago. And I love the fact that everybody gave up their night last night. But the 5 of us are up here every first and third Tuesday of the month. Our meetings are broadcast live on WRPS, Rockland, and they're also streamed live on WRPS Rockland YouTube, which I announce at every meeting. So one of the things that's very difficult for us is we present the information at these selectmen's meetings. That's where you find the information. So, if you do us a favor and watch the meetings, and if you can't, it's always available. It's always available to find. They have an extensive catalog. Every meeting, I think, that since they started streaming them, is online. Some of the more famous meetings are definitely online and right on the top of the page with over 15,000 views. But I think that starts as far as being a more informed resident is taking the time to watch the meetings. And then Donna, you had mentioned you thanked everybody that stayed, which was great. And there was a lot of people saying that, questioning why we had on the warrant the fire station number 84. Well, that's the reason that we had it there, because what we've seen in the past is that whatever the hot button topic is, what the article is, once that is settled, it's a mass exodus, and everybody goes, and then we're scrambling for a quorum. So seeing as everybody was so engaged this time around when we did this, and that's something that I think we can consider next time around, that we find something an article that's controversial that we know everybody's going to be there for. We will put it sooner in the meeting as long as they promise that they'll stay for the other articles, because in our minds, all 84 of those articles are equally, maybe not equally, but all 84 of those articles are important, and we spend the entirety of our year putting that warrant together to present that at town meeting for the residents. So when people are yelling at us about number 84 not being shouldn't have been 84, okay, but we did it out of past experience, knowing that once that article is done, most people leave the room, and we want to be able to get those other 83 articles at least to have the opportunity to be considered. So with that said, you live and you learn, and I learned last night that the Rockland residents were also interested in the other 83 articles, and I appreciate that, because Doug and Jen, everybody at Town Hall works really hard. The financial team, the finance committee, everybody works really hard in assembling that warrant, and I appreciated the fact that they were engaged enough to stay for the 83 articles after the article that everybody wanted to be there for was heard.
But by the way, number 80 about the name of our board, do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I thought you were going to say something,
I know, I forgot.
but your comments are passed.
That's okay.
Do you want to take a second? Go ahead, Laurie.
Oh,
Go
well.
ahead. Bask in your glow. There you go.
Well-
Go ahead. Enjoy it. You worked hard for it.
Well,
No.
no, I just wanted to explain. Thank you for passing Article 80. It's renaming our board the Select Board. It probably won't happen for another year. The governor has to sign off on it. So, we're still the Board of Selectmen officially. Unofficially, I have always called it the Select Board. So, I just wanted to explain that.
With all I've heard from you about changing this name over the past year, I'm shocked it wasn't your first comment.
I know.
But you got it in there.
It's not all about
I
me.
know. And I do have one more thing just to bring up, and I probably should have put it up there on other new business, not reasonably anticipated. But this past week, we saw another incident where someone drove onto the train tracks in Abington. I've been in conversations with some of the selectmen in Abington to try to get a better understanding of how some of these accidents continue to occur. Abington is a community that has the train run through it, and where it runs through, it's the only community. There have been 32 accidents since the train has come back down to this part of the state, and 19 of them have occurred in Abington, and they've occurred in the section from what was known as the Musterfield, in the Spruce Street area, all the way to just past where the cellar would be, or just before Skilling's Auto Body on Route 58. And what you notice in that area is that the street actually runs parallel to the train tracks, and in some cases, people mistake the train tracks as the street as they go into to make a turn. One of the things that the Abington Board of Selectmen has been doing for a number of years is pushing the MBTA to get multiple bars to stop people from being able to cross. Double wide right now, it covers one lane on one side and one lane on the other side. What they're looking for is longer bars on both sides, plus bars that can be remotely activated and raised up on the train track itself from the conductor. They've written a number of letters to the MBTA, and for me, the MBTA's response is really what you would expect. They say they're following federal guidelines and they don't have to do anything more. But there's been a problem in this area, and they're doing the bare minimal to fix it, and they're not addressing it at all. The MBTA, we just heard from Jen in her comments that they are forcing legislation upon us, or they're part of legislation that's being forced upon us. A lot of our residents travel those roads every single day in Abington, and this time it was a Whitman resident. Next time, God forbid, it could be a resident of Rockland or Abington. And my thought is that at our next meeting, so we can discuss it more, I was thinking about having the board, draft a letter, or having Doug and Jen draft a letter in support of the Abington Board of Selectmen, a letter to the MBTA demanding that they make these changes that the Abington Board has been fighting for the last 6 years, or actually for the last 15 years. But the MBTA doing what they do, like most government entities in the state, they've done the bare minimum, and that's all they're required to do. So with that, if anybody has anything further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Roll call vote.
Motion to adjourn.
I got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Select Person Childs?
Yep.
Select Person Elwood?
Yes.
Select Person Shorto?
Yes.
Select Person Needham?
Yes.
And myself. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.